Ren from Hallowed Be Thy Game, and today I'm going to share with you the top 10 best JRPGs. Let's check it out. Welcome back to a special episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. Ren here, and yes, I have put together the impossible list of my top 10 all-time favorite JRPGs. These are the games that have just swept me away. They're just the upper echelon of game that have just really just melded with me. Now, I want to say that a lot of times for me, a game that reaches kind of like another plane and becomes a hallowed game to me is one that I've just really just maybe have a special memory with or something, but it's also got to be a quality game. Now, every game on today's list I would consider borderline perfect. Sometimes they have that special memory, or maybe I played them at just the right time in my life that they have just reached the hallowed status of my top 10 favorite JRPGs of all time. Anyways, I look forward to seeing yours down in the comments, because please let me know what yours are. I love reading your responses, and I'm looking forward to the community discussion here to just see what people are thinking is the best JRPG of all time. If you enjoy these types of videos, please consider liking and subscribing. It's the best way you can help support us on the channel. As of the recording of this, we're right on the cusp of 30,000 subscribers. I cannot believe it. Thank you all so much from my family to yours. All of the games on today's list are turn-based JRPGs. Now, I know there's a lot of discussion about what the parameters are, but I wanted to limit today to just turn-based games. So without further ado, let's dive right in. At number 10, Legend of Dragoon. This is the game I played most recently on today's list. However, I just immediately imprinted on this game. I fell head over heels for Dart and the gang as they're on their quest to stop the existential crisis and dread. There's stuff going on with the moon. It's just an absolutely banana story, but I love it with all my heart. I really fell in love with the darker themes in this game, which was really shocking to me. Sometimes you just kind of forget how older JRPGs could have some really dark moments in them. And yes, this game pulls no punches. I'm not going to do any spoilers in this video. However, it just absolutely gutted me. I just was so sad at moments in this story. It's an epic experience, good versus evil. There's complicated characters. I just couldn't get enough of it. But one thing I really want to focus on is the turn-based combat system in this. Legend of Dragoon does not get enough props for having one of the most addictive and just unique combat systems I've ever played. This does make me want to try the Paper Mario games. I haven't played those yet, but my buddy is, we shared, I think we talked about in an earlier video. This is almost like an action turn-based game. Now, in Legend of Dragoon, when you get into combat, you're going to have the action system. So when you come up, there's going to be a reticle that starts zeroing into a target. Your goal is to hit the button as the two overlap. And as you progress through the game and you level up your actions, you're going to unlock different combos that will have a lot of different complexity that it can add to it. There will be a lot of different beats. I found myself a lot of times really meshing with one character's tempo to their attacks, and then I'd switch up party members and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't understand this person's tempo yet. However, I really loved it. And what's really cool is later on, enemies will start to counter you. So you may know that combo like the back of your hand, but every once in a while you might have to hit circle to block a counter attack midway through the combo. It's really fun, extremely addictive. I never got bored with combat. And what's really cool here, I know a lot of people call it easy, but when you guard in this game, you refill health. So yeah, it does kind of take away a pretty hefty, steep difficulty curve, but I really like that. I really like the extreme emphasis on the benefit of guarding. A lot of times I feel like guarding in games just feels like a wasted turn, and it's kind of frustrating. However, in Legend of Dragoon, I mean, it's awesome. You like half your damage and you get health back. It's wicked. It's awesome. And it was also really cool that considering characters don't really level up equally in the game, to where, if somebody's under leveled, you can bring them in and have them guard, and they'll usually be safe as you catch them up in levels. Legend of Dragoon is absolutely deserving of a remake, and I would love to see what Blue Point or some other studio could do with it. I'd love to see the entire vision just kind of, express the fullest. I love this game, and also one of the most banging menu musics in all of JRPGs, gaming in general, which was kind of surprising. Anyways, it bops. Check it out. Number 9. Final Fantasy X. This is the first entry on today's list that just has a very strong emotional connection to me. Final Fantasy X is one of the greatest JRPGs ever made. Its combat system absolutely stands the test of time. The interchanging of characters in real time to bring them in, and the incentive to have them come in and at least hit a mob to be able to get experience. I loved it. Final Fantasy X often gets ragged on because it's voice acting, which is extremely frustrating because everybody points to the Tidus laugh being one of the worst voice acting in all of gaming. Would you all stop? It is clearly taken out of context. It's said in just in the game. Anyway, soapbox aside, the setting looks like it's around Thailand, and the culture. You have the mixture of the different colors and just the absolutely timeless music from Nobuo Uematsu. To Xanarkin, to me, still strikes a chord and emotion that reaches deeper than just I can explain in words. It just calls forth this guttural, visceral reaction to me. It was my late brother's favorite video game of all time. And for years, I could not revisit this game. It was just the memories were too strong. However, earlier this year, after well over a decade of not playing Final Fantasy X, I dove into it again. It was a soul-cleansing process. And really, with the themes of the game, with death and rebirth, there was just a lot in this game. And I believe its story, its characters, and heck, I even love the character dialogue. There's just something else. I mean, you have a lot of deeper themes explored here. I mean, Wakka is a very complicated, conflicted character. You know, he's this very devout religious person, and he's finding out that, you know, not all is as it seems. And then you have Tidus, who's going on his own journey with his father. And there's so many elements to this story that it's just undescribably amazing. I think Final Fantasy X is very well the perfect blend between fun, addictive, fast-paced combat and also just an endearing, timeless story that I fully believe decades from now people will still be talking about Final Fantasy X. There are remake rumors about this. I don't know what to feel about that. I mean, Final Fantasy X I feel still holds up extremely well. A very heartfelt story, and one that I could not put down from start to finish. Number 8, Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age. Oh my gosh, Dragon Quest XI, this game is just so upbeat, so wonderful, and one of my favorite cast of characters in any JRPG. Now, I will say this, I don't have the deep-seated nostalgia that a lot of Dragon Quest fans have. I really did not get into the series until the 3DS with Dragon Quest VIII. I love that game. But Dragon Quest XI's, I truly feel is the game that just hooked me in, and I could not stop playing it. One of the most beautifully realized worlds in all of gaming to me. And yes, I do love the music in this. I did play the 11S version, so the music was much better in it. However, there's a very tried and true combat system here, and while it's not as dynamic and as involved as some of the other games that I usually gravitate towards, which we'll get to in a little bit, Dragon Quest XI has heart and soul, and it wears its inspiration and its tradition on its sleeves. And I mean, Dragon Quest is the Rosetta Stone for turn-based gaming. And I feel that it really leans into that, and it's proud of what it is. It's not trying to reinvent itself. It's not trying to do anything other than be a classic. And a classic is what Dragon Quest XI is. I will say this, I don't know if this is controversial. I think Sylvando might be one of the greatest video game party members of all time. It's just, I love this cast of characters, and really the story is a classic tale of good versus evil, but it's just so well done, and it's such perfect execution. I love this game. I will always love this game. It's still one of the greatest, if not the greatest JRPG you can play on the Switch. Absolutely a must play in my book. Number 7, Xenogears. Now this is where my list might have a little controversy here, because I would consider all of these games to be 10 out of 10 experiences. However, Xenogears is unfinished, and I think true fans of it will admit it is unfinished. It had a complicated production cycle. At the end, they had to wrap things up really quick. In spite of that, I still consider Xenogears to be one of the greatest games ever created. It's such a deep dive into the soul and how people interact with the world around them, with religion, It is a complicated game, and one that's ending still haunts me. I do consider Xenogears kind of a creepy game. It's not inherently a horror game by any means. It's not like Kudelka, which I'm playing right now, but it does disturb. I think that's safe to say. You know, at least from my upbringing, Xenogears is kind of a disturbing game in that the themes it explores are very real, very challenging, and dark at times. Now, I love mechs, I love JRPGs, and I love a unique combat system, and it has it here in spades. You know, even going deeper than just the story, the turn-based combat in Xenogears is interesting because it's like another combo entry system. Now, it's not rhythm and time-based like Legend of Dragoon. However, you will, as you play the game, you'll want to use different abilities like a light punch or a heavy punch, in different types of abilities, and you'll unlock through use new combos, and you'll discover them. It's an excellent, very unique system that if they ever did remake this game, which would be phenomenal, I would like a better tracking system of that. Xenogears is the perfect looking PS1 game. Instead of like Final Fantasy VII having 3D characters in a sprite plane, this game had sprite-based characters in a 3D world. I feel like the PS1's graphic capabilities was perfectly suited for this approach. It's just a gorgeous game to look at, and exploring the world map in this, it's fantastic. And using mechs in this feels very weighty, powerful. It's an epic experience. It just feels like this event. It's just this big, grand, wild experience. I feel like this game almost tapped into an upper echelon of storytelling and just the vibe around this game that I almost don't even look at it like a video game. It's just like an entity that exists, like a Zohar. Anyways, I love this game. My time playing it on the PS Vita years ago, I really just was swept away, and I just didn't even know that the PS1 could have stories like this. And really, to me, it stands as one of the greatest video games that ever made, not just JRPGs. Number 6, Chrono Trigger. The game that absolutely needs no introduction. Chrono Trigger stands the test of time. There is no other video game that I can just look at an image of, and just the different sprites, the locations, everything just conjures a memory for me. I did play this originally on the PS1 many moons ago, and I had a wonderful time with it. You know, even though people tell me it ran so bad on the PS1, I don't know, I was too young to notice, I guess. But years later, when I would play it again on the DS, I mean, I played this game through I don't know how many times that summer, and I will always have the most vivid memory of laying in my bed with the windows open, hearing the crickets chirp outside, warm summer evening, playing Chrono Trigger, the hours melting away, and just experiencing one of the most wholesome, soul-healing games ever. Now, the active time battle system in Chrono Trigger, I feel, is just so iconic, and now we're starting to see extremely excellent indie homages to it. Like, I just beat Sea of Stars. Good lord, what a phenomenal game. Anyways, it was very much a love letter to Chrono Trigger in a lot of ways, at least in its presentation. And I do feel like this kind of dream team of Square just teaming up, the incredible art of Akira Toriyama, it just fits. Chrono Trigger is just a game that had so much heart and soul poured into its development cycle, and you can hear it in the music, just that beautiful score. Every time I hear the Chrono Trigger theme, it gets my heart going. I'm so ready to go on an adventure again. You feel young again, and there's just a magic in Chrono Trigger that it's hard to explain. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just a wonderful experience, and one that if somebody's wanting to get into older JRPGs, I think it's a great starting point because it's so approachable and it's just a nice contained experience. Now, before we head on to the rest of today's video, I just want to thank Atlas so much for sponsoring this video. With Persona 5 Tactica, dive into a new adventure with the Phantom Thieves as they take on the Legionnaires. This SRPG combat system takes on the tried and true press turn battle system and allows you to experiment with the environment around you to play a key role in combat. Make sure to use the battlefield to your advantage and place your teammates tactically to unleash spells and abilities on the enemy. All-out attacks are next level in this game as you perform a triple threat when your party is positioned correctly to unleash insane amounts of damage. Combine this with the pristine use of the battlefield, and fam, we are fixing to have an epic god-tier SRPG experience with the Phantom Thieves. With multiple difficulty options, this is going to be a great entry point to the genre and allow fun to be had for players of all skill levels. Forge the perfect Persona team in the Velvet Room, and customize your squad to complement your character builds in what looks to be a phenomenal progression path system. The sky's the limit with Persona 5 Tactica, and it is staged to steal my heart. Persona 5 Tactica comes out November 17th on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Windows PC, PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. Absolutely a day one purchase for me, and I'm so stoked to be sharing it with you today. Check out the link down in the description and also pinned in the comments for more information on Persona 5 Tactica. And let's get back to number 5, Shin Megami Tensei 5. Now, at the core of my being of a gamer, more so than story, characters, or anything, gameplay and combat is king to me. SMT5, in my most humblest of opinions, is the greatest playing turn-based game ever made. In terms of combat, execution, character progression, power scaling, difficult encounters, it's done perfectly in SMT5. My favorite difficult boss encounter is in SMT5 with the Demi-Fiend DLC. Now, the Shin Megami Tensei series has kind of a legend about it, almost like the Souls games, in that they're extremely difficult. I'm not going to say they're easy. However, SMT5's difficulty scaling is such an excellent entry point into the series. The press turn battle system, which was created in SMT Nocturne, has been perfected over the years with the different Persona and SMT releases, and it culminates in just the creme de la creme of the battle system in SMT5. Now, the press turn battle system incentivizes characters to target the weaknesses of enemies and to guard the weaknesses of your own demons, dependent on the encounter. So let's say you're fighting an ice monster, it'd be a good idea to hit it with fire magic, but you also want to be aware to not be too weak to ice if the enemy's going to be hitting you with ice or bufu spells. Now, when you target the enemy's weakness, it's not just going to do a lot more damage, it'll also give you a press turn, which is an additional action in combat. This opens you up to such an incredible risk-reward gameplay to where you might be able to delay healing your party or preparing for something, in that you know you're going to be getting additional turns, and you can preemptively prepare for the next big mega attack as it's coming. The demon fusion system and recruitment system in this is just so addicting. I've beaten this game, I think, tied for the JRPG I've beaten the most. I mean, good lord, I got every ending you can get in this game. I'm getting the itch to play it again. It is just such a phenomenal experience, and yes, it's an extremely approachable one as well. So if anybody's interested in playing the SMT series, please do yourself a favor and start with 5. It's a great entry point, and then you can work your way backwards, because SMT4, for Apocalypse, Nocturne, they're just banging games and nigh perfect in my opinion. However, this is a top 10 list. It's a tough one to narrow down. Anyways, SMT5, the top of the mountain for combat. Number 4. Radiant Historia. Longtime viewers of the channel, you knew it had to be here. For me, the best game on the Nintendo 3DS is Radiant Historia, absolutely clinching in my top 5 favorite games of all time. Radiant Historia is the perfect blend between fun, unique combat, and it actually uses time travel to a perfect degree in its storytelling. So many JRPGs, if you find out there's a true ending, you're always constantly tempted to go and look and see, well, do I really want to beat this entire game again to get the true ending? Should I look it up, how to do it along the way? There's a lot of first world problems that come with it. However, in Radiant Historia, with time always being a mechanic, you are getting endings nigh constantly. Choose a wrong story path and you'll get a quick ending. All you have to do is just reset time to a previous point in a fork in the road and try a different decision. It's so addictive and fun to fill out your Historia of the different pathways to try to achieve the true perfect ending. It's a wonderful experience full of heartfelt, emotional, well voice acted characters. Yes, I'm talking about the perfect chronology version on 3DS. A nigh perfect experience to me. Now, the combat in Radiant Historia is one of the best parts of it, despite how much I love stock and all the cast of characters. Now, in this, it is kind of a grid-based fighter, and you'll be fighting people, and you're incentivized to chain attacks together. And the way you do that is you'll have the ability to move enemies around the battlefield. So what you want to do is start knocking enemies into one single tile, and then you'll build up attacks on them, and then there'll be a multiplicative damage. It's an extremely intoxicating, addictive formula that makes you feel smarter than you actually are, which I very much appreciate. I like feeling like I just did a big brain move and moved, 3 enemies onto a single tile and then just killed them all in a single giant combo. Then I just destroyed them all in a single giant combo. It's so fun. I love this game. Truly, there is no better experience, in my opinion, on the 3DS than playing this. I'm so hopeful that Atlas one day will remaster this game and bring it to modern consoles. If Legend of Legacy can get it, I mean, there's hope. Radiant Historia is slept on by so many people, but in my opinion, it's genuinely one of the greatest JRPGs ever made. Number 3. Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI takes on the impossible task of having a giant cast of characters, multiple main characters, and pulls off one of the most flawlessly executed storylines in all of gaming. We join the story with Terra as she breaks free from her mind control and starts uncovering the truth of her past, who she is, how she can band together with Edgar in the game to go on a global jaunt to stop the psychotic clown prince of Final Fantasy, Kefka, one of the greatest villains in all of gaming. Now, that laugh is timeless. What I really enjoy about Final Fantasy VI is its unique progression system, and I think that's why I kind of gravitated toward Nocturne when it came out. But you'll have items that you can equip to your character, and as you fight in combat and use them, you'll eventually unlock, similar to the Magatama system in Nocturne, which I won't get into now. However, it's just a very tried and true system that encourages multiple playthroughs and building your characters differently. It's such a unique, highly customizable system that you can really just dive into. However, in Final Fantasy VI, some of the greatest sprite work in all of gaming is here. Just the emotions that they were able to draw out of the characters is just timeless to me. With so many main characters, it balances perfectly, being able to develop each of the main cast. With a special shout out to Edgar, that coin flip always hits me right in the feels. And then also Cyan's story, which is normally kind of overshadowed by the god tier Sabin power bombing the train. Just as Cyan's story unravels, it just absolutely devastated me as a father in my most recent playthrough. It just hits so differently. But that's just it. There's such love and passion that can be felt in Final Fantasy VI. And really, anytime I play it, I am just swept away. Terra's theme is one of my favorite songs in all of gaming. Truly a wonderful experience and must-play gaming for any fans of turn-based games. Number 2, Persona 5 Royal. Persona 5 Royal is an excellent combination of the god-tier press-turn battle system with its own unique tweaks that were put in Royal with the baton passing and switching turns. That was just such an excellent, refreshing, just change from the normal turn-based formula, but also story and characters. Look, there are some villains in this game that you hate the very ground they walk on. Kamoshida. Whoa, good night. But on top of that, I really enjoyed that Persona 5 brought back negotiations with the personas to be able to get them to join you. There's so much about this game. It introduced jazz music to an entire generation of gamers. I mean, I would say arguably Persona 5 is a contender for one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. Oh, that's a toughie, but it's definitely worthy to be in the conversation. However, I love this cast of characters, Makoto for life, and I'm so excited to see where the series goes from here. You know, since playing Persona 5, I've worked my way backwards throughout the Persona games, and I'm extremely excited for Persona 3 Reload that's going to be dropping. The Phantom Thieves are just a joy to get to know. And what's excellent is that you do end up caring about each and every one of them. You know, when I was first playing the game, I thought there would be certain characters that would just really rub me the wrong way. By the end, I loved each and every one of them. And just being able to grow to them, yes, it's a long game. This is probably the longest game on today's list, and it ain't even close. Throughout that time, you grow close and invested in these characters and the story. And as the days approach to big events, you're just, you can feel the tension in this. And I feel like the high stakes in Persona 5 can be felt. It's something that I want more JRPGs to do, is to make their cast feel vulnerable, to make them feel like they could be in danger, like we see in Legend of Dragoon or even Final Fantasy VII. I can't get enough of this game. I'm so happy that it's broke free and so many gamers are being able to experience it for the first time. Truly one of the greatest video games ever made. Number 1, Final Fantasy VII. For longtime viewers of the channel, this will come as no surprise. Final Fantasy VII is the game that brought JRPGs to the West. it's the game that really just took off, and so many of us younger gamers in the 90s just discovered this and just were just completely blown away by it. I remember scrounging for change with my brothers to get together enough cash to go to Funko Land and pick this game up, and just the hours melting by. We were just completely entrenched, and really, we had never played a game before that had such a long form story. I mean, a long game to us was like 15 or 20 hours, and here we have this 50 plus hour epic, and an epic it was. It was just unreal to be able to get to know Cloud and Tifa and go on this crazy journey with them. And I don't think it's necessarily spoilers at this point, but you know, when Aerith dies, it is just unbelievable that, you know, you have one of your best characters, a character that you love and care about, is just gone. Processing that loss was just such a foreign concept to us playing video games at a young age. But really, from a gameplay perspective, Final Fantasy VII still holds up to this day. I think the materia system is extremely intuitive, and it's also an addictive progression path system that I love seeing emulated in future entries, and that still holds up today, whether you're playing Crisis Core or other remakes. Even deeper than just that. Yes, Final Fantasy VII is an excellent game that I still feel holds up today, even though the graphics probably don't hold up as well, to put it lightly, as like Xenogears. There is something about Final Fantasy VII that just hits deeper. Me and my middle brother, who's unfortunately passed on, this was a game that we played together. And, you know, those hours playing late into the night, just me and him playing this game together, those will forever stay with me. I'm an emotional gamer. I'm somebody who is bought in more by how a game feels than sometimes, rather than just kind of technical, analytical, quantifiable means. A lot of times how a game makes me feel is more important to me, which, you know, it's all about having fun and what a game makes you feel. But for me, Final Fantasy VII is immortalized in just perfect nostalgic memory. And as the years go on, whether I'm replaying Final Fantasy X, which was his favorite, or I'm replaying Final Fantasy VII, which was my favorite and he really loved too, those memories live and breathe. I approach these games again, it almost feels like I'm playing with him again. And that's not necessarily something you can accurately share unless you felt it. Final Fantasy VII's soundtrack conjures up the warmest and most perfect of memories to me. One of the greatest times of my life of playing games. There wouldn't be a YouTube channel today if it was not for Final Fantasy VII and the love I feel for it. There wouldn't be such a passion for the turn-based genre if it was not for this game. To me, it's everything. Truly, Nobuo Uematsu has immortalized the soundtrack, and I would say it's probably my favorite soundtrack of all time. The cast and characters are my favorite in all of gaming. A timeless classic in my heart, and my favorite JRPG of all time. However, those are just my top 10 favorite JRPGs. I would love to know what yours are down in the comments. Did we have any similar ones on our list? Any similar in ranking? I'd love to know. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe for more JRPG content. Be sure to check out the link to Persona 5 Tactica down in the comments. I want to thank Sega and Atlas so much for sponsoring today's video. I cannot wait for Persona 5 Tactica. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.